Canh, a struggling high school student, suddenly becomes the top student at school, but no one knows that his success comes from a haunted fountain pen he found in the attic. Whenever he holds the pen, the knowledge he desires magically appears in his mind. All he has to do is write, and miracles happen. But gradually, the pen begins to demand a terrifying price that can never anticipate it. The Sinister magical fountain pen, male student Chap 2. At first, Canh felt happy and excited with the magical fountain pen. It brought him remarkable achievements, helping him reach the peak of success in academics and creativity. But then, he realized something strange. The pen didn't need ink. It required something else, blood. One day, while holding the pen and doing his homework, a strange voice echoed in his mind. "I need blood to write." The blood of animals or people you love. Canh began to understand that the fountain pen was not an ordinary tool. It demanded a different kind of energy. A dark and ominous energy. It required blood, the blood of those he loved. A sense of horror and unease spread through Chen's mind as he realized this truth. His dependence on the pen gradually turned into fear. Every time he held it, he had to face a difficult decision. Was he willing to trade the safety of his loved ones for success? As the days passed, the pressure and stress in Chen's life increased. He couldn't accept the pen's brutal demands, but he also couldn't give up the power it provided. The internal conflict pushed him into dangerous territory, and he knew he had to find a way to free himself from the pen's control before it was too late. Deciding to abandon the pen was difficult, but Canh tried to do that. However, after putting it away, he couldn't focus on studying or doing his homework as before. The pen's power had left a deep imprint on his mind. Canh was forced to use the pen again. But then, he thought of a plan. He secretly used the blood of sewer rats and stray cats around the garden to satisfy the pen. However, his efforts failed when the pen refused. It retaliated, causing his head to ache as if struck by a hammer. In his desperation, Lucky, his loyal companion, became the first sacrifice. This loss was an indescribable pain for Canh. He felt heartbroken but couldn't refuse. His despair and anxiety grew, not knowing what to do next. Using the pen brought Canh spectacular success in his studies, but it came at a very high cost. Blood, the blood of animals or people he loved. Lucky, the dog he had raised since he was a child, became the first sacrifice. This caused Canh immense pain. Once it had tasted blood, the pen became increasingly greedy, and the blood of the poor dog was no longer enough. As the dog lay dying, the pen forced Canh to drain its remaining blood. When Canh regained his senses, he was overwhelmed by an unprecedented despair and guilt. The weight of regret and remorse consumed his mind. He regretted using the pen and being unable to control it. He cried, holding the dog in his arms one last time, and then buried it in the garden where they had shared their happiest memories. Each day, the power of the pen increasingly manipulated Canh, sapping his will. He knew he needed to do something to free himself, but a sense of helplessness engulfed him. When his mother noticed the dog's absence, she asked Canh about it. He shook his head and said nothing. Unable to share the heartbreaking truth, she assumed the dog had gotten lost, posting flyers in search of it, unaware that Lucky was buried in the garden of their house. The pen demanded more blood, pushing Canh into desperation and guilt. The pen's demands and pressure caused him increasing pain and despair. Canh wanted to stop, but something felt wrong. The pen's power seemed to control him. Each time he held the pen, he felt a strange force coursing through his body, making him more dependent on it. Canh began to realize that the happiness and success the pen brought were not real. It was a kind of witchcraft, a trap into which he had fallen. However, the more he tried to let go, the harder it became to escape the pen's grip. Fear and anxiety about his future grew, but he knew he had to find a way to overcome it before it was too late. But before Canh could do anything, the pen's strange power not only changed his academic performance but also altered his personality and mind. Day by day, he became more sullen and unpredictable, growing distant from those around him. His eyes became cold and distant, no longer reflecting the warmth and innocence they once did. Chen's mood frequently swung between loneliness, confusion, and tension. He was no longer himself, but a replica shaped by the pen's manipulation. Those around him began to feel alienated and worried about his personality change, but he couldn't explain it to them, unable to reveal the pen's imposing and sinister power. Woa, Chen's close friend, also noticed his change. She wanted to talk to him, but Canh kept avoiding her, making her very sad. After many attempts, Woa didn't know what to do. In the darkness and solitude, Canh was engulfed in unhappiness and despair. He knew he needed to find a way to break free from the pen's control, but in his current mental state, he didn't know where to start. This transformation not only affected Chen's life, but also caused a sense of anxiety and tension throughout the surrounding community. Sen felt her son becoming increasingly strange, growing more sullen and withdrawn. She felt uneasy and fearful about Chen's future, often wanting to talk to him, but he always avoided her. San worried but didn't know what to do.